I'm Dutch, and let's react to the Americans. Hello, and welcome to the channel. My name is Johan, and I'm a typical Dutchman. And I often wonder, why is there such a misunderstanding between the US and Europe? Why is there such a differences in cultures and in things we do in everyday life that makes this misunderstanding growing, or even getting larger and not smaller? And to do so, I want to learn about America and looking at the differences between America and Europe, or actually differences, a comparison between America and Europe, to find out where this misunderstandings come from everyday life till anything that's related to America and Europe. And for now, I'm gonna react to I moved to Europe by American in Spain, so she went to Spain. Okay, that's nice. Here in America, I moved to Europe. Here are American lies I'll never believe again. So, which lies are you guys being taught to, or told by, I don't know, your teachers, that are no longer true according to this young lady in the United States, in Spain? So let's take subscribe and like to start with, and then we're gonna take a look at what lies is she talking about.
Up believing that America is the greatest country in the entire world. When I moved abroad 5 years ago, that was when I realized how many lies I've actually been told. I honestly didn't
Okay. The greatest, yeah, okay. That was really start. Let's
If
start.
you're American like me, odds are that you grew up believing that America is the greatest country in the entire world. When I moved abroad 5 years ago, that was when I realized how many lies I've actually been told. I honestly didn't realize how many things were broken in the United States until I left. What's up, travelers and future expats? I'm back with another new video, and this one is all about American lies I don't believe anymore after living in Europe. Let's jump right in. So,
Yeah, let's learn about the differences. I don't want to say the lies, but the differences between what is over there and what is over here.
the first American lie I don't believe anymore after living in Europe is that if you work hard, save money, you can buy a house. And this isn't
Oh, okay. Yes.
because young people don't want to work or because young people are entitled. This is simply because the rules of the game have changed. And the first thing I want to say
Oh, where did this beep come from?
about this is about urbanization and the poor urban planning that there is in the United States. You have to think that young people want to go where the money is, and the money is usually in big cities. So if a young person is going to go move to a big city, you have to think that they're probably going to be spending a lot of their money on rent. So work hard, save money, buy a house. The whole save money thing might be out the window if you're renting in a big city such as San Francisco or New York City in the United States. Even if you have a really good salary, the cost of living eats that up. The next
Yeah, okay. I heard about it in other videos. It's not cheap to live in the big cities of the United States, especially renting.
thing I want to say about this is wages and home prices. So in the United States, it's very common for homes to have nearly tripled in value. However, salaries have not increased. The math ain't mathin'. The next thing I want to say about this is that student debt delays adulthood in the
Wait. Back up. The prices of houses tripled, but the wages did not, aka inflation from housing prices versus your salary. And now she is talking about student debt.
sense that student debt affects your credit score, it affects your ability to save for a down payment or to even move out. Millennials are one of the most student debt burdened generations ever, and it shows. The next American lie I don't believe anymore
Whoa. Uh, it's a she says it's a lie. Compares to what and with which evidence? I don't hear the evidence. I know because she's now living in Spain that we treat this a different way. We have and we pay a decent salary that you can afford a house for. You can, yeah, that's what we do. But she's only talking about the United States.
more after living in Europe is all about keeping up with the Joneses. And if you don't know what that means, I'll explain it to you really quick. It's basically an idiom that's used in many English speaking countries where you're comparing yourself to either your neighbors or your peers. So let's say your neighbor gets a new car, you feel that you need to get a new car to basically beat them. They got a new phone, you want to get a new phone, etc. You get the point. So
Okay, keeping up with the Joneses.
what happens in the United States is consumption is at an all-time high, and that often gets people into financial strain or even debt. It's definitely now worth it to get a new car or get any new materialistic object just to prove your worth or financial status to other people that probably don't even care anyways.
Yeah, okay, she's right. You should not. But there's always the grass at the neighbors is greener than your own. But if that is the way that it's not that you've been taught to. It's the way that the culture is. That you buy stuff, and to buy stuff you need money. To need money you need work. You need to work hard. And if you have earned your money, you can buy stuff. You can buy new stuff, more expensive. So you need to work harder, and the circle it goes on and gone.
It's very toxic and it's super wasteful. So I definitely do not believe in consumption, let alone massive consumption anymore. And the next American lie I don't believe anymore after living in Europe is all about guns and that guns are needed and that guns are necessary. Listen, I've personally never ever been a fan of guns. I think it's so toxic. I think America is a very gun crazed culture, gun crazed country, let alone in states like Texas where it's open to carry and you see people walking down the street and they're legally can have a gun on their waistband. That to me is absolutely
Or in the back of the pickup truck like a proud gun owner. Yeah.
insane. I'm from the East Coast, so I was born and raised in New York for a few years, and then I moved to New Jersey, right outside of New York City. So you don't see guns as much, but people do have guns in New Jersey now and in New York. There's a lot of illegal guns out there. It's just not a good idea, and it is a huge recipe for disaster. You see all the shootings all the time. And I just wonder if there's ever going to be a day where America genuinely wakes up. You also have to think that America runs off of capitalism. So everything that
Wow, she goes high speed. Pooh. I try to find points to to react to because I feel like I'm the one who's need to tell you that what is different here in Europe versus what she says that is the lie in the United States.
America does is for the pure sake of profit, which means they want to make money with everything that they do. And unfortunately, that's exactly what happens with the firearms in the United States. It's a business, and that's very disturbing to me that politics rather make a profit.
She doesn't hold the gun right. Yeah, yeah, but money is obvious, always the biggest driver to do things. If it's gun or oil or car salesman or anything, yeah, capitalism is yeah.
Profit than keep millions of people safe. Not to mention the mentally ill people that have access to these guns or can easily buy a gun. I really do think it's a huge recipe for disaster. Politics care more about profits over people, and it shows. I personally
Yeah, and in Europe, there you are not allowed to have a gun. A and B, you only have allowed a gun if you have a permit, and to get a permit, you get a good background check, and you only get permits if you are a registered hunter for the government. If you are part of a shooting club, and then you get a permit for I called it's what you call the BB gun, but it's an air pressure rifle. That's where you need a permit for, and I had one. You get a permit for hunting and for protection of when you are in a security guard or something. But very high regulated, but you can have a gun, although, yeah, it's not as much that you can walk into Walmart and say, "Hey, I want a DD." You cannot. It's not possible to buy a gun at every corner in Europe. And if, but that's the lie that she told. It's not possible in Europe to do this. It's conflicting what she says as a lie versus what is in Europe.
Think that the gun topic is very messy in America, and as long as the NRA has their own political action committee, guns probably aren't going to be going anywhere. Unfortunately, I personally think that the guns affect the quality of life to an incredibly evasive degree because why would you want to be living anywhere where you have to be scared to go to the supermarket, go to the mall, go to the cinemas? It's way too much at this point. The next American lie.
Yeah, that's why people who live here in Europe. It's not that we don't know any gun violence, but if I, and I am a man, but even if a woman or kids coming home from going out and walk through the streets in the center of the city on the way home, they're safe. It's not they are safe. They don't need to worry about somebody carrying a gun and do something, or you're safe.
I don't believe anymore after living in Europe is all about food, and that is that healthy food is expensive. Healthy food is expensive in the United States, but if you go anywhere else, it's not that expensive. Living in Spain has taught me that you don't need to spend a fortune to actually eat healthy.
That's the first time that she actually relates now, says something about and make the connection with Spain and the United States.
Things here are normal priced, and it's really nice to be able to live somewhere where you can eat healthy and it's not going to make a hole in your wallet. And
No, no, of course. Netherlands and Europe in general have healthy food by definition, and that's not very expensive food. It can be more expensive if you want to have specific items. Then it get more expensive, but the regular prices, and you can look up videos on my channel. I have videos about it. What is the current prices in Europe, or in this case in the Netherlands, about what does this cost? What did she tell about? Yeah,
And the reason why I don't believe this American lie anymore is because when I moved abroad, I've sufficiently seen that the cost of living is almost always cheaper outside of the United States. Also, adding on, I think the government needs to have a serious conversation with the FDA. So, the FDA is the Food and Drug Administration in the United States. And I think
you should watch Poisoned on Netflix if you're curious about this topic. It talks about E. coli and how that how ended up in American produce. Yeah.
they're doing an incredibly poor job at their job because the food is so toxic in America. It gets a lot of people sick. So many of my friends have stomach issues, digestive issues. They can't eat a lot of things.
Every time I go back to visit, I get sick with the food. I eat absolutely no dairy and very little poultry when I'm there.
There, and if they maybe come to Spain or come to Italy, they can eat pasta, for example, and in the States they can't eat gluten. It's pretty crazy to see how harmful your own food is from your own government that's supposed to help you and provide a decent quality of life for you. That the FDA could be protecting us better against harmful chemicals such as BVO and potassium bromate that are banned in places like Europe. The next American lie I don't believe anymore after living in Europe is all about rushing and having a quick pace of life, and that is so normalized in the United States. I can't tell you how many
Wait, wait, wait. About what? Oh,
American
rushing.
lie
I understand flushing. Rushing.
I don't believe anymore after living in Europe is all about rushing and having a
Rushing? Does she really help me out here, guys? Rushing?
quick pace of life, and that is so normalized in the United States. I can't tell you how many times I've eaten in my car, on my way to work, on my way back to work, just always in a rush. This type of pace of life leads to a lot of cortisol, which leads to a lot of stress and actually affects your health in the long run and in the long term. When you eat, you're supposed to eat calmly, you're supposed to be enjoying your food, paying attention to all the flavors that you have on your plate. Instead, in America, a lot
Yeah, okay. Enjoying your meal is not only healthy for yourself because it's good for your digestion, but also, yeah, you enjoy your meal. You actually taste everything instead of getting in sugary and then move on just to have something in your stomach, and you don't remember half an hour later what did I eat? I ate something, yeah, something greasy with a lot of sugar.
A lot of the time we're rushing, we're eating fast food, we're on our phones, we're not even paying attention to the food, we're not even paying attention to the company if there's anyone around us that we're eating with. It's so ridiculous to even think that type of pace of life is even sustainable in the long term, let alone when you have kids, because it is not. The next American lie I don't believe anymore after living in Europe is all about debt and that debt is normal. I think debt is way too normalized in the United States.
Debt as being in debt, not only from your college, from your studies, but also from, I guess, the credit cards debt.
And I think that leads to a lot of stress, a lot of financial ruin, and a lot of overly consumption behaviors. I don't think that
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's in Europe because then it's a lie, but it's not a lie over. It's hard. She's complaining about America. What is not good about America comparison to Europe, but it's not a lie. It's hard to say. Debt, yeah, yeah. I also think that's not good to work with credit cards all the time. It's 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 amazing that that's something like getting a credit card and you have to pay for your credit card. You have to pay for your credit card receipts. You have to pay for a lot of things surrounding that credit card. And you can have several credit cards and be in debt with. It's A, confusing, B, it costs way more money than not having a credit card. Save money and then spend it on that what you want because you don't have to pay the interest and you don't have to pay. But my biggest issue with the credit card in the United States is the lack of privacy. And yeah, I have a video on my channel about that one too. You should look at it. It's about those credit cards. It's very strange.
this type of debt is normal. I think it's a bigger sign of a broken system. The reason being is because the system is designed for most people to fail. Debt is designed into American life. So by the time you're 18, there's already people pushing you to get into debt. Maybe you have to take out student loans to cover your college tuition.
There's a lot of hustle culture, and unfortunately, some young adults in the USA have to decide if they want to work or if they want to get an education because some people can't do both for financial reasons. Yeah, and what I understand it was that people getting their parents getting their kids on their credit cards. So by the time they are 18, they already have a credit card history. That's more beneficial in the credit card points for their future. It's, yeah. Look at the video. I will put it in the description.
Tuition. Maybe you need a car to get you to your job that's getting you through school, let alone if you have a medical emergency or some type of medical illness. Adding on to this debt topic, you then also have luxuries in life, which are things like buying a house. You also have things like having kids. You also have things like paying for weddings. So, fun fact, the average wedding in America costs about 40,000 US dollars.
Yeah.
So,
40,000. Yeah, okay. And then there is a wedding planner. It's actually a profession. It's not something you have in Europe. A wedding planner. You plan your own wedding, and that's not. Yeah, you can make it cost 40,000, but you can get married and with all the festivities around it, with dinner and friends and all. Yeah, 5, 6, maybe 10K But 40K, that's by your own choice. It doesn't need to.
So that's a lot of money. And for example, even if you split that as a couple, that's still about 20K on each end. That's a lot of money. That could potentially be a down payment towards a house in the United States. So that's a good chunk of change just on a wedding, which is just one day essentially. So these are things that you have to start thinking about, especially because everything is so expensive in the United States. And because of this tariff war, looks like things might start getting even more expensive.
Yeah. This is tariff war. That's I've seen it from Trump. Oh my goodness. Let me know because it's May 2025, and yeah, yeah, things are getting really expensive now in the next month or so in the United States.
I personally don't believe this American lie that debt is normal because I believe that debt has been normalized in America to keep people compliant, stressed, and honestly, way too tired to even fight back. Freedom isn't just about flags and fireworks. It's about not being financially imprisoned for the rest of your life just because you're trying to live a decent life. One of my favorite things about Europe is that it's a system that's not designed to get you into debt. And also, most college universities here are either free or very cheap. And now we're talking all about cars and the big old
Whoa, switching topic. Talking about cars now.
American line that you need a car for everything and to get everywhere. After living in Europe, it's honestly impressive to see how good and efficient their public transportation is. In comparison, the United States, unless you're in New York City, Washington, D.C., or Chicago, public transportation isn't that great in many suburbs, smaller cities, and buses aren't frequent and they don't go where you need to go. Going back to the poor urban planning comment that I made before, that's actually a thing in America. So you do have to drive to the grocery store because it's probably not walkable and you probably can't walk back with all your groceries. You probably can't walk to work and you probably live far from your friends. Even if
Yeah, okay, that's in Europe a heck a lot better, but that's also because we came back from this idea what we had in the 60s that we were car dependent. And nowadays, you see the big cities, Amsterdam, Paris, Rome, etc., all getting back from we need 20 lanes right through the city and make it walkable and cyclable again with good public transportation. That's what's happening in Europe. But we had the same like you had in the 60s that there were that everything was based on cars. And nowadays it's getting back to the older years, as in there are no cars, you can walk everywhere, and if it's too far to walk, you go on a bicycle, and if it's too far by bicycle, you can take a train, a tram, or a bus. And if that's not good, then the final option is to get your car.
if you do happen to live in a big city in the United States, you'll still notice that things are far apart. On the contrary, when I've been living in Europe, I noticed that there's a supermarket in every street, if not every street, every other street. It's super easy for you to go buy
This is so fake. I don't know who's or what this is. But this, I don't know. Somebody bringing groceries. Oh man, this is so fake as fake can be.
your own food and cook. And the reason why I don't believe this American lie anymore is because I think it's another consumption trap that makes people have to get a car since there's no other way to get around. I also don't think it's healthy to have to drive every
Yeah, but part of that is that you have to have a car together with insurance and gas, etc. And my opinion is the gas is the really, and the car manufacturers is the really drivers that they want to sell gas and they want to sell cars, so they pump a lot of money, they lobby at the politics for a heck of a lot of money to keep people car dependent in every city, in the state, etc. Because if people really go back or bring back the walkability of a city with city planning, then they will not have the same sales of cars and gas, and that's not good. That's why you see a big fight in the United States against electric cars, because the gas companies who produce oil and oil products can't sell enough. So that Musk is still alive in the United States is mainly because there are a lot of Teslas coming over to Europe and Asia, because in the United States, rather not.
Everywhere versus walking and public transportation.
The next American lie I don't believe anymore after living in Europe is that doctors in America care about you.
The doctors actually care about you. That's I cannot confirm nor deny. I have no experience if they do or do not.
The reason for this is because Big Pharma is an animal. If you don't know who Big Pharma is, it's the big pharmaceutical companies in America that own,
Sell and develop prescription.
Okay. Yeah, it's so big pharma. Yeah. That's it's not that the doctor doesn't care for you. Here in Europe, so I want to compare this with what happens in Europe. In Europe, the drugs prices, the prices that doctors need for their equipment or for anything they do, are regulated and restricted until certain top prices, maximum prices. That is the price you can ask, and no more. While in America, if I'm correcting, then there is no price limit on the drugs that big pharma sell to a general public and B to the hospitals. That's yeah.
Drugs. So for them,
it's very important that people are sick. It's very important that people get prescribed medicine. And it's very important that people use their health insurance so they essentially get paid.
And unfortunately, this shows us that Big Pharma also cares more about profit over people. No one's health should ever be a money-making business, and it's very sad to see people have to pay astronomical costs for basic medicine.
Yeah, I know. I've seen the prices. I've seen it. Wow. And the insurance premiums. She.
The reason why I do not believe this American lie anymore is because I think there is a very big drug crisis in the United States. A lot of people get prescribed way too much medicine. It's putting a band-aid on the root of the cause when you can just get to the bottom of the root of the cause that's causing you this health issue and not be on medicine for a long time. But it's very important in the United States that these doctors keep you on medicine because this is how they make money through private health insurance. So
I I I refrain from comment. I'm not sure if that really is. She's the one. She's telling me. She's the first one who's telling me, and I'm inclined to believe her because it's a capitalism. But yeah,
so
maybe you can confirm this with me in the comments. And while you're down here, like the video and subscribe if you like this kind of content and I'm reacting to those Americans living abroad or living in America.
That's essentially why I don't believe that big old lie anymore. That's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed learning about the American lies I don't believe anymore after living in Europe. Make sure you check out my latest videos if you're curious if you should move abroad as an
You should move abroad. Yeah, that's a good idea. Get the correct information, but I believe that it's a good idea to leave the United States.
American. And if you're curious about why I moved to Spain as an American, and then also we have my latest honest review of living in Madrid, Spain as an American. I talk about the pandemic and just having really bad luck right before I moved abroad. So yeah, we'll get into that into the other videos. Make sure you like this video, share it with a friend who wants to move abroad or who is thinking about moving abroad. Subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.
Yeah. Okay. I will see you in the next video. Wait a minute. Yeah, she was jumping all over. Yeah, she told it is a lie. Yeah, it's not alive. It's more kind of the current frustration, and it's not a lie as in my words, it would be a lie if they tell you that America is the biggest and the greatest and the best country in the world. Or that's a lie. It's for sure a lie. If they say to you, you must stay in America because we have uh, 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 the cheapest drugs, and when you go to Europe, and that's a lie, when you go to Europe, you can't have drugs and you're gonna die. And that was the lies that I was expecting of what is told to you guys, that it's not true about Europe while living in Europe, in Spain in this case. She was complaining a lot about the US. I understand it. I agree with her, but it was not the thing that I expected as what is told to you guys, what is not true when you really live here in Europe about, for example, guns, etc. So I try to fill her on to give some extra comment about what is the truth about here in Europe versus what is told to you in the United States. Well, that meets me to the end of the video. If you want to see more, that side there is something more for me you can see, and you can press also on this button. That's good for me too, and otherwise I will see you in the next video.